For years, the world watched them win. The crowds roared their names. The medals were glistening. But when the fans finally stopped cheering and the final race is run, who are they without their sport?
Me against me. Me against me. There was no one there, which is hard really when you come to finish it and you think, well, I've done that now, what next? And that's the problem.
And when you retire, suddenly that is just stripped away. You fall off the edge of the cliff and it's no longer there.
Through a bit of an identity crisis, to be honest. It's like, I was always known as the captain of the Sharks, Mike Tuck, the basketball player, and it was about trying to find out who I was next.
When you're going to retire, there's lots of question marks you have of yourself. What am I going to do? What am I capable of? Have I learnt anything? What's the real world like? Will I ever see the real world?
After the fame and the success, another story unfolds. The mental health struggles an athlete can face after retiring. This is professional sport, the silence after the applause. According to past studies, 46.4% of athletes face mental health challenges throughout the transition into retirement. But the question is, why? Colin Jackson reached the pinnacle of athletics, an Olympic medalist and multiple-time world champion. But when the track fell silent, a new uncertainty began. What comes next?
I was successful from a very young age all the way through, and I only knew athletics as a sport. I knew nothing of the real world. So when I was going to retire, I was going to be like a 17-year-old kid emotionally, because I did everything the same from I was 17 to I was 36. Monday was 150s and hurdling. Tuesday was weights and circuits. Wednesday, it was the same. So all of a sudden, when you're going to retire, there's lots of question marks you have of yourself. What am I going to do? What am I capable of? Have I learnt anything? What's the real world like? Will I ever see the real world?
Colin also felt that going into retirement triggered panic attacks and lots of anxiety.
When I had the outlet of my sport, worry was, well, am I worried if I'm in good enough shape? Am I worried, can I deliver a performance? Etc. You've got something quite physical to hang it on, to hang worry on. But once I'd retired, I didn't have anything physical. There was no physical outlet. So the worry really kind of then manifested into anxiety and panic attacks. And I suffered from them on a regular basis. I still do suffer from anxiety and panic attacks sometimes. And going into retiring into sport really set them and triggered those off, because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And you retire quite early, and you've got a lot of living to do. Yeah.
Mike Tuck was the captain of the Sheffield Sharks basketball team for 11 seasons and found the reality of letting go of all of that a difficult concept.
On the lead up to my retirement, there was lots of anxiety for me. What am I going to do next? I've been known as the basketball player for so long. I think when you finally do retire, you go through a bit of an identity crisis, to be honest. It's like, I was always known as the captain of the Sharks, Mike Tuck, the basketball player, and it was about trying to find out who I was next. And I think definitely it was, that first year was kind of low.
For some athletes, it's the feeling of emptiness and regret after retiring. Catherine Spencer was the captain of England women's rugby team throughout 2 World Cup final losses, but the team managed to win the final just after she retired.
For 2014, when England women won the World Cup, I was working for Sky, who televised their tournament. When we got to the final, it was becoming apparent that England were going to win. They beat Canada in the final, and the final whistle went, and in the studio, I just sobbed. I just had these tears streaming down my face, mascara everywhere, the makeup person had to come and patch me up, so luckily we went to an ad break. I just had a huge amount of emotion, and if I'm honest, at that time, most of it was not great emotion. I was kind of devastated that it hadn't happened 4 years ago, devastated that I wasn't out there. I found it really difficult to be kind of happy for the team, and in that moment I just felt very alone, very kind of quite sad really, but struggling with those emotions and experiencing that and feeling a little bit guilty about that I wasn't happy and elated for the team.
After retiring, some athletes, like former Welsh Rugby Union international David James, feel like there wasn't enough support available for them once they left their sport.
To retire at the age of 33, 34 years of age is hard to deal with. Where do you go? What do you do? And unfortunately, there was no support. There still isn't any support. It's just I've learned to mature and surround myself with better people. The challenges that lie ahead for some professional rugby players are going to be, it's like deja vu. There was no support. There was no sort of career pathway. There was no help when an education from a financial standpoint or a personal standpoint. And that's a really big flaw when you look at the rugby sort of fraternity. And especially in Wales, it wasn't there. It may have changed a little bit now. I think it's more of an administrative sort of tick box, and I'll stand by that. And I think more should be done.
In December of last year, David James released his own book called Offloading: Tackling My Truth.
Yeah, Offloading is my book. It was released just before Christmas. It was in the offing for 7 or 8 years, and I didn't really think anybody would be interested in my story, if I'm honest. Little bit of imposter syndrome going on, I guess, as well. And for me, what it was my journey, my career path, the challenges I faced, the highs and lows of professional sports. The objective for me was to share some of my challenges. And hopefully it resonates with some people, and it stops people going down to a really dark and terrible level in their lives.
So, what support is there for athletes? Well, bodies like UK Sport offer support to many athletes across Britain, but they were unable to provide a spokesperson at this time. However, the PFA did, and they specialise in supporting footballers throughout their entire lives. Jeff Whitley works as a mental health officer for the Professional Footballers Association, otherly known as the PFA. He was a former Manchester City footballer that went through similar struggles as others may do.
I think it's very, very difficult to come out of the industry and find something that gives you the same natural high as playing football. And I think players, lots of players chase that when they leave, and they miss it. They miss the dressing room, the training ground banter. You can't replicate that last ditch tackle, or you're losing 3-0 and all of a sudden you get one back, you get another one back. I lay Chris in and he goes and puts in the equaliser. You can't. It's hard to explain that feeling. Obviously, as a fan, you go crazy, but as a player, we're obviously going wild as well.
Jeff works alongside Chris Owen at the PFA. Chris specialises in supporting athletes throughout any types of struggles.
My role working within the PFA, Professional Footballers Association department, is to look after the holistic well-being of all players, no matter what their circumstances. But in particular, when players leave the game, they're obviously hitting a real pressure point, a real life-changing moment. So the things that you have to put in place are in order to promote positive well-being, and the same for anyone in society, their direction, acceptance of what's just happened, because it's the inevitable for a footballer, because careers are short. It's the acceptance, the trying to find new direction that will fulfill transferable skills, and really getting them to see that you're not just a footballer, you're a human being, you have lots to offer, you've got transferable skills. And how do we position you in a way that can allow you to get all the enjoyment you did from the game, but in future careers? The football's just one part of your identity, and it's not the most important part. It's you as a human being, and all the other things that you have to offer moving forward.
So finally, what advice did the professionals have to give other athletes who are retired or reaching the later stages of their career?
Make sure you go and have a look at other industries and try and find something that captures you.
You always have to be thinking about your next move, and I think that's what I did, is that I started working alongside playing.
Always kind of think of something else, surround yourself with other people, value your network, value your connections that you make through your sport, because they could be hugely important to you in the future.
Don't take anything for granted. You still got to work hard at things, because there are lots of people all striving for that same kind of dream and goal. But also, don't be fearful of it, and really enjoy your retirement.